All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Um, Market reaction here has been very bullish for equities. Okay, equities have continued on higher. The S&P is up about 24 points here, a little bit off of its highs, a little bit off its highs pullback. Bonds are pretty flat overall relative to where they have been. Um, and just from a market standpoint, there's a lot of chatter out there. We basically had the bulls' worst fears of taper starting. The reason why people have been selling, and that get bought into pretty aggressively here today. So there's a question of follow through, right? It's not a question of signals. This market isn't a question of signals. This market is full. I mean, we could go through hundreds of bull vibe and 100 trend rider signals that are being triggered here today. Okay, this isn't a matter of signals. And what this looks very similar to is the October Fed, okay, where we had some of the sell-off come in, and then we get this really big bounce on the Fed here that just kind of leads to a continuation rally in a big way. Um, the Bulls are going to argue Santa Claus rally. The Bears are going to say, hey, this is really an overreaction. Taper's happening. This is going to be bad. The strength is going in on a broad base. The strength is going into the banks, just like it should with interest rates or with this decision by the Fed to be a buyer. The KRE, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, these breakouts. Yes, it looks overbought on a daily chart here for Goldman Sachs, but you start to zoom some of these charts out, and you're just talking about the beginning of a breakout for Goldman Sachs. You're talking about very much a similar to December of 2012 type looking chart for Goldman Sachs. So we're looking at these things, and it's really a pick 'em. Some of the things that Carl and I have been looking at outside of the financials to get into U.S. Steel. Okay, above 27 and a half. Not quite there. Could it play catch up tomorrow and bust into a trend rider signal? Absolutely. Okay, but overall. Okay, overall, we'd love to make a trend rider trade here, and we mentioned that we would look to do that. Kind of our two favorite trend rider trades are X and FedEx, but both are just a little bit short. So we'll wait on the trend rider trade till tomorrow. We are going to do a challenge trade, okay? And yeah, I mean, Cricket, you'd say looks like there needs to be follow through. Max, you say I feel like this market, everyone will chase it. Don't see a pullback till next earnings season. Yeah, I mean, there are the arguments out there, but it comes down to risk reward. The bottom line, the signals are bullish. I mean, they are absolutely bullish all over the place. We're gonna go after for the challenge. Boeing. Okay, Boeing. Is this the prettiest technical setup out there? Probably not. From a technical standpoint, Alcoa is set up, very nice here overall. We have other setups that are equally nice, but Boeing here has been in the news quite a bit. They have a huge stock buyback. They've had some strong earnings, order flows continuing. Fundamentally, there's some good arguments. Who cares? Uh, Yesterday, Boeing gapped up and kind of sold off with the market. Some of that selling continued here today, and we're seeing a strong reversal of that selling. We have vibe bull signal after a consolidation. The consolidation's been, between about $7 and $8 here, so we would expect about an $7 or $8 breakout above the 136 level. You could argue that maybe we're a little early. Maybe we should get into Boeing and wait just a little bit. Well, where the challenge is right now, we're not going to make a trade that we expect to perform tomorrow. That we expect to perform Friday. We're getting into something that, probably about a week and a half, where we start to see this thing break out and push higher. The two kind of reversals that it has on here have actually been on some good news. They're the rest of the group, the rest of the sector, also very strong as well. When it comes to Boeing, we're going to use the 133, 134 level as our stopping point. Okay, we start to kind of bust back into this, we'll look to get out. Is there a risk that there's a little bit more of a pullback, maybe a dollar 50 pullback in the morning from a short-term standpoint? Yeah, there is. Okay, and really, when you look at anything that's out there, that risk is kind of across the board, right? You can have the Santa Claus effect, everybody jumping in and chasing. We've seen that happen most of this year. In fact, after Fed decisions, we've seen a lot of chasing. But the risk from a technical standpoint is another dollar 50 lower. That's a risk that won't bust us out of the trade or put us in a huge world of pain here. We are looking for about a 145 price target here on Boeing, which would be fantastic from a gain standpoint. So let's go and hop into this trade. The option that we are looking at here is the regular January monthly. Okay, the regular January monthly, and at the 135 strike. Okay, so we're not dealing with a dollar option. We're actually dealing with a relatively, expensive option. A $5 move in Boeing, we'd get about a 90% gain. Okay, we're looking to do 5 contracts. Okay, 5 contracts here. I'll see if we can split that at 365. This will take $1,800 of our money here for these 5 contracts. We'll see if that fills me. Probably won't. No, it did. So 365. Okay, 365. In Boeing, January 135 calls at 365 for the challenge. Okay, 5 contracts. Okay, 5 contracts. Okay, 5 contracts. Okay. Now I know 2 of you who are going to send me an email tonight about Boeing. Boeing is a stock. The last time we traded it, we had everything going for us, and an airplane caught on fire, right? Hey, that's a risk no matter what. Okay, that's a risk no matter what. As far as a fill price here, 360, 380, anywhere in that area, the risk reward is still set up very well. 380, even $4, it prices out from a risk reward standpoint very nicely here for Boeing. We have the trend in our favor. We have the 7-day moving average. We have the news. We have the fundamentals. We even have option buying versus selling, open interest. We really have everything in our favor. We have Vibe. We have Trend Rider. The odds overall here for Boeing are strongly in our favor. Does that mean the trade's going to work? Not necessarily. Do I expect it to? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Look, are there other trades out there? Yes. There are a ton of setups out there. They are a lot. I'm a little nervous about some of the consumer staples setups, but at the same time, right? This is the type of move that in 2013 has gotten bought up and pushed higher. Okay. Jonathan, the January, it should be the third Friday. I believe that is the 18th. Third Friday, 18th, 19th, somewhere, depending on your broker there. The regular monthly January options on Boeing. Okay. There are things like DuPont, right, which we talked about DuPont yesterday. Kind of very similar. These consolidations that are pushing up. Got an email here asking about Morgan Stanley. And whether this is chaseable for Morgan Stanley. Just think back here to the financials in general. back here in September, when the market, or excuse me, October, when we got the big jobs data, the big push up. All these financials look to be a little overbought in the very short term, and they kind of continue to fly there. Yeah, Mike, you flew Boeing aircraft for 40 years. Design and build excellent aircraft. Press makes big deal out of glitches that occur with new models. Always have, always will. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. No, they do, and I mean they have tons of orders. Backlog. Obviously much of that's priced into the stock overall. Um, my father works for a manufacturing plant that does a lot of work for Boeing, outsourced. And the orders keep flowing in there as well. There's a lot of strong things that can be said about Boeing. That being the case, don't really, I don't really. Yeah, that's nice. I'm more interested in price action going up for this trade, right? Yeah, the options. Yeah, they kind of been dancing around. They had stayed pretty flat in the 360 to 380 range for a while. The stock has just kind of moved up about 40 cents in just the last little bit here, as kind of it keeps getting bought into. Really with this, anywhere between the 360 and $4 range, the risk reward makes a lot of sense. This isn't like a dollar option where if we get in a dollar, you get in at $1.10 or 90 cents. That's a huge difference. A 10-cent difference on this option isn't that, really isn't that big a deal here. Okay. And I don't really expect Boeing to kind of surge into the close. I think it's kind of at a pretty stable spot overall. Okay. Again, the risk here with Boeing, and it's kind of the same risk as many of the other stocks in the market, is after the high volume surges today. I mean, the high volume surge overall. They that Boeing kind of pulls back here about a buck 30, 40 in the morning. Again, this isn't something that we're going to be looking at tomorrow and saying, "Ooh, it's starting to go down. We got to get out." This is something we're eyeing for about a week and a half. To really kind of play into the holiday week next week. We start to get gains. We'll peel a little bit off so that we can go play somewhere else as well. Okay. Yeah, market haywire today. Yeah, I mean, the market had something to move on. It basically got what the bears were mostly worried about and reacted lower and went higher and moving up. Yeah, Jay, Apple move. Epic here, just flying higher here. Nice little dragonfly doji overall, big volume. This is the type of setup here with Apple where, yeah, you can be an early buyer and buy into it here, okay? A gap up tomorrow, $3-4 gap up would be, hey, Apple's ready. Apple's absolutely ready to really be done consolidating and move higher here. Okay, you have things like Amazon. We looked at Amazon, we priced Amazon and almost did Amazon. Amazon was one of the trades for the challenge that we looked at potentially getting into. Google as well. We chose Boeing. We chose Boeing. You got half a position. Yeah, and that's not bad, Slawick. To put half a position on Apple here on this type of candle, and then, hey, it gaps up, gives you the confirmation, put the other half position on. Yeah, the position I really would love to get into is Alcoa. Really like the setup here on Alcoa. The options, they're pretty much real value, but you don't have a ton of torque in them. From a reward standpoint. But as far as just a picture perfect chart, Alcoa, very similar to what AKS has been. And then U.S. Steel is one that, from a vibe trend rider, it gaps up starts to push above 27.50 tomorrow, it would have both vibe and trend rider aspects. And if it does that here in the morning, we will look to do that for the trend rider there. Okay. Yeah, the gold, silver, so these things have reversed. The AUY, which was up 30 cents, and we talked gold's not really following through. It's just, gold is continuing to get hit here as the TLT kind of comes off of its highs. These gold miners are reacting to it and getting beat. And, there's a pretty bearish setup for the gold miners into the close here. This is an extremely bearish setup overall. Okay. LinkedIn kind of giving kind of your dragonfly, very similar to Apple. Huge volumes overall here on LinkedIn. Overall. X or AKS, both of them in nice positions. AKS has been breaking out. X has been consolidating and showing signs it's ready to break out. X above 27.50. If I had to hold one now, I'd rather hold AKS. But if I'm looking to enter, I'd rather wait and enter AKS on the breakout. BMY, Bristol Myers. I mean, this is the type of move that, look, in 08, 09, 2010, 2011, we looked at these types of moves with a lot of skepticism and said, sheesh, that's hard to chase. In 2012 and 2013, these have been types of moves that have had a lot of follow-through, that have had absolutely a lot of follow-through there. Cool, Ken, you're holding AKS? Very nice, very nice. Johnson & Johnson. I'd rather buy Johnson & Johnson than Bristol Myers, but they're kind of the same thing. They're kind of the same thing there. Okay, Halliburton. Okay, my email has filled up with Halliburton, and Halliburton. I will admit to you that I did go out and buy Halliburton here over the last hour. Okay, didn't do it for the site, but let me just bring up the live account here, and I'll show you Halliburton here. Okay. And this shows the position there. Went out and bought some Halliburton. Okay. I continue to be very bullish on Halliburton for the challenge, for the risk that it posed this morning and everything else there. Now, had to pop out. Okay, had to pop out, but good volumes. You got a quality stock. It just has everything you'd want to see. Does Halliburton. We almost decided to get back into Halliburton for the challenge, okay, but we chose Boeing instead. All right, the Boeing options should be kind of settled down. You should be kind of about a similar price. They should be somewhere around 360 here, okay. So down here around 360, which is kind of about where they had been sitting most of the time here, coming off its highs into the close just a little bit, and that's kind of what we want to see there. Alrighty. Again, as far as a trend rider and a vibe trade, we're not going to make one here into the close today, but FedEx, UPS, and U.S. Steel, both in very nice positions where if there's a little bit of strength in the morning, absolutely be able to go after and take advantage of here. Okay. Alrighty, well, thanks for hopping on. Any questions, please let us know. Jeff, you say the stream's broken up. Could you just shoot something over to support at Trader Minute, and they could take a look at that here for you. As far as the setup, one of the things we're finding is that for most, the stream works just fine, but we're seeing pockets of weakness that almost seem to be regional. And so, we're kind of tracking all that. Again, not sure what, the best solution on that here, because it really kind of depends on, individual feeds. But please let us know, and Jared will take a look at that. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.